Hello, good evening, and welcome to Varsity Maine Live, presented by Central Maine Power. For the Portland Press Herald, I'm Travis Lazarzik, and tonight I am joined by my colleague from the Press Herald, Drew Bonifant, and from the Sun Journal in Lewiston, Adam Robinson. Gentlemen, thanks for being here. Our
Thank you.
guest, our guest tonight is believed to be the first female varsity baseball coach in Maine history. As a student at Winslow in 2004, she was a standout pitcher on a state championship softball team, and her Black Raiders have recently won 3 of their last 4 games, including a 12-2 win over Belfast on Monday. Joining us is Beth LaFountain. Beth, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
You guys had a slow start, but what's been working for your team the last few games is kind of a key to turning around and getting some wins.
We try to keep a kind of a culture where we've pushed that failure is part of the learning process. So I think keeping everything pretty loose and having the boys realize that they're not going to be penalized for making a lot of mistakes. And I think they're starting to get more comfortable, and I think they're starting to grow confidence right now. They're starting to get their feet under them. And they're also, some of them have learned quite a bit since they haven't played since 8th grade or 5th grade. So it's a very young team.
Your first win of the season was coming back to beat MCI. How and I think MCI took the lead in the top of the 7th or tied the game. They rallied there, and then you rallied back in the bottom half. How big was that to just kind of get that thought into players' minds that get that one off get that the monkey off the back, so to speak, and kind of get that proof that things are going that things are going in the right direction?
Yeah, I think that was huge. I mean, these athletes that are on my team are such great kids. They're very competitive. They do want to win, but we have a lot that we need to work on, a lot that we need to learn. But the best part of this is that we have that fight in us, and now we're starting to be able to do something with it.
Beth, such a trailblazing moment here for you, coming from softball, coaching baseball. What's been something when you got into it that maybe surprised you? And did it take some time for the players to kind of get used to the whole situation, or was it just kind of, it's baseball at some point, right?
Yeah, I think, I was the assistant last year, and I think that helped them get to know who I was last year. And they know that I have very high expectations. I hold them accountable. And I like to win just as much as they do. But I think that, it's an awesome group, and I'm so fortunate to be working with them. Male or female, I think this is a very special group. And I consider myself very lucky just to be a part of it.
Beth, I remember talking to you a little while back, and you were talking about some of the differences between softball and baseball, specifically how baseball, has some hit and run situations that you can do. And I think you were telling me that was something that you really, really liked about the challenges of baseball. Just kind of talk about that and how that's been something both exciting, but also something to just to kind of get more familiar with and everything.
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously very familiar with softball, and there are a ton of overlap there. And so the differences has actually been my favorite part. I love the base running. I love leads. I love getting a kid to balk. I mean, the fact that I can get my base runners to advance because some kid flinched is that's like my new goal in life. So the delay steal, I mean, the base running is just insane. And we have a lot of speed on our team. 2 of our seniors are going to be playing college soccer next year. So it has been a lot of fun trying to just run the bases in general. So, yeah. But yeah, I do struggle calling a hit and run because honestly, it's just that doesn't even exist in softball. And I understand, it's a big part of the game. And I did call one the other day. And it worked. But that one, I have a hard time calling it. I'm not going to lie.
Beth, at Winslow, I'm sure since you were a student there, you've been surrounded by some great coaches in a lot of different sports, including one in your own family, your grandfather Wally, who I had to give a little shout out to because I'm sure he's watching and would harass both of us if I didn't. Who are some of the coaching influences that have kind of helped shape you?
Well, right now I have Brenda Beckwith in the press box at all of our home games, and she definitely, I think, helped grow my competitiveness. I had, of course, in junior high and in high school, I had Steve Blood as a softball coach, and he really, I think, encouraged me to be a student of the game and really get to know the ins and outs of the mechanics and the fundamentals, and just go out there and expect to win. I've also, I've had a lot of opportunities to learn from various coaches because I've been an assistant coach for so long. I've tried to pick and choose what I liked from each of those coaches. The culture on the team I've really kind of created for the team. I think a lot comes from Allie Kriegel at Thomas College. She has a very loose, very friendly atmosphere there. And then, of course, I was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to work Senior Legion last summer with Rusty Mercier, where probably a lot of the base running would be coming from. So I've just considered myself very fortunate that I've had all these opportunities to have such great mentors along the way.
How has the reaction been to this the story going? I mean, do you still have people coming up to you at games saying, hey, I think it's great that you're doing this. I think it's great being that a Winslow coach is the first to kind of break this barrier. Or at this point, has everybody kind of gotten used to it, and now it's just you're just the baseball coach like anybody else would be the baseball coach?
I think the team is not fazed at all. A lot of the parents are just happy. But it's mostly if I run into people in public. I think there's a lot of people who are, first of all, excited that there seems to be a buzz about baseball right now in Winslow in general, and that the program as a whole is starting to make a comeback. But for me, I haven't really myself thought a lot about it because I just want to win and build a winning program. But I do get approached a lot in public with people who are rooting me on, and I really appreciate all of that.
Beth, how crucial was your time as an assistant coach on the bench there, getting to know everybody, getting accustomed, really just probably with the coaches and players, right? And then was getting a head coaching job always the goal, and how did it feel when you got to that point?
Interestingly enough, I kind of joined last year. A lot of the reason was because of COVID restrictions. I just happened to be an employee in the building. I was working full-time in the guidance department at the time. And the coach who I knew was going to be late, and he didn't have anyone that was cleared to come in the building to help with practice until he got to practice. I said, well, I'll start your practice for you. I can work some blocking drills with your catchers if you want. And so the next day at school, the kids talked to their teachers and they said, the guidance lady came to practice last night. She really knows her stuff. So that was pretty funny, but I stuck around and I absolutely love the guys. I love the game. And then, kind of had more of a role as the season went on. So that really last year, I think, was huge.
Great. Well, guidance lady, we've been very fortunate to have you. You do know your stuff. Good luck the rest of the season. And thanks for joining us, Beth LaFountain from Winslow High School.
Thank you.
Thanks, Beth.
Okay. We'll now move on to Athletes of the Week, sponsored by Central Maine Power. Central Maine Power, we're committed to building a smarter, stronger, and more resilient grid. At CMP, we're Mainers invested in Maine. Learn more at cmpco.com. Okay, we will start with Amelia Waderburn from Lewiston Girls Track and Field. She won the 100 meters in 12.68 seconds and long jump in 17 feet and placed second in the 200 and triple jump on Friday against Brunswick, Coney, and Camden Hills and Mount Ararat. She ranks number 1 in the state in the long jump. Aiden Gonzalez from Edward Little Baseball. Gonzalez had 3 hits. He scored 3 runs and drove in 3 more to lead the Red Eddies to a come-from-behind 10-6 win over Brunswick. EL trailed 6-0 after 2 innings. Kelsey Sullivan from Brunswick Softball, the senior catcher, hit an RBI double and a home run and threw out 3 runners attempting to steal during a 9-1 win over Camden Hills on Wednesday. Drew, you were at this game. What did you see out of not just Kelsey, but Brunswick as a team?
I mean, I'll start with Kelsey, just an all-around player. I mean, not only did she do that at the plate, she threw out free runners on the base paths. I mean, just at the way that the contact that she makes at the plate. I mean, the home run was almost rising as it left as it cleared the fence, and then she had a double that may have been even harder hit down into the left field corner. She just is all over the ball at the plate. She's got 8 home runs in 8 games now.
Wow.
But from their team, it's really just it's one of those 1 through 9 kind of operations. There are players all throughout who can come through at the plate, and she and Sophia Moran are the two kind of leaders of that Brunswick team. Their coach Hugh Dwyer calls them Thunder and Lightning, but it's definitely a tough lineup to pitch to. You're not going to get too much relief when you get down into 6, 7, 8, 9. That lineup. The game I covered, 6 players had RBIs. It's a really potent group, and it's no wonder that Brunswick is kind of got the pole position here in Class A North.
Yeah, there's a few teams in Class A North, and we'll talk about a few of them later when we get to the polls. Rita Benoit from Halldale Softball, she struck out 14 in a key 6-1 Mountain Valley Conference win over Madison. George Catone from Kennebunk Boys Tennis, he's a defending single state champion, and he earned the top seed from the state's largest region in qualifying for the MPA singles tournament. In team play, he is unbeaten as the Rams are off to an 8-0 start with a combined match record of 39-1. Mackenzie Elliott from Telstar Softball. Elliott threw a 3-hitter with 11 strikeouts. She added 2 hits, including a triple, and a 10-6 win over Carebeck on Monday. In Friday's 9-8 win over Winthrop, Elliott drove in 3 runs and had 2 hits, including another triple. Tiernan Lathrop from Cape Elizabeth Boys Lacrosse. He scored 6 goals for Cape in a 14-8 win over Scarborough. Brody Johnson from Trape Academy Boys Lacrosse. Brody scored 6 goals to lead the team to their first win in program history, a 9-5 win over Freiburg. Emma Bunye from Poland Softball. She drove in 10 runs over 2 games, leading the Knights to wins over Yarmouth and Wells. Brooke Jerry from Wyndham Softball. She threw a 1-hitter with 11 strikeouts in a 13-0 win over Chevers. She also hit 2 doubles and a single in the win. And on Wednesday, she threw another 1-hitter in a 10-0 win over Gorham, striking out 8. Rose Pavic from York Girls Lacrosse. She scored 7 goals and had 6 assists in a 17-3 win over Grey New Gloucester, Poland. Nick Ferentz from Lisbon Baseball. Nick struck out 15 batters and held Mount Abram to 2 hits and 2 walks in a 6-1 win Monday. He also doubled and scored a run. Adam, I think you were at that game. What can you tell us about Nick and Lisbon as they look to be one of the contenders in Class C South?
Yeah, Lisbon's trying to get back to at least the Class C South rather, regional final. They lost last year to Monmouth. This Nick Ferentz performance, where he threw 15 strikeouts over 7 innings, was the game after they came from behind and beat Monmouth in the regular season this year. That was a big emotional win, the coaches were saying. They come back, Mount Abram, probably the 3rd best team in MVC. Depending on who you ask, they just beat Monmouth yesterday. To throw a 2-hitter or 3-hitter of 15 strikeouts, he also had a double. It was just a really, really impressive performance. And similar to how Drew was talking about Brunswick softball, and you don't really have any relief when you get further down the lineup. That's how Lisbon is. It's Nick Ferentz, it's Hunter Brissett, Mason Booker, and then Levi Tibbetts, who had a big home run in that game. They've got 3 or 4 starting pitchers that are really strong. Levi Tibbetts is one of those pitchers. He can hit really well. They're just a really well-rounded team, them, Mount Abram, and Monmouth. And so that's why, to me, that Class C MVC section in the Sun Journal area is one of my favorites to keep an eye on this year.
Always some good teams out of that region. It's going to be interesting as we turn the corner into the second half of the season here in late May.
Yeah.
Miranda Pert from George Stevens Academy Track and Field. She threw the discus 95 feet 2 inches to win the Husky Throwdown at MCI by 1 inch. Jaden Flaker from Scarborough Boys Track and Field, a former guest on this show, he posted the top times in the state this year in the 110-meter hurdles at 14.91 seconds, the 300 hurdles at 40.87 seconds in a meet against Gorham, Kennebunk, and Noble on Friday. He also won the shot put with an outdoor personal best of 46 feet 7 inches. Abby Emerson from Gorham Girls Tennis, senior, won her 7th straight match Monday in a 3rd set tiebreaker over Jenna Ledner of Portland to improve to 7-0 this season. She also carried the top regional seed in qualifying for the MPA State Singles Tournament. Emerson has led a turnaround for the Rams, who were 2-10 a year ago with only 5 girls in the roster. They've started this spring 6-1 with a roster of 18. Seb Layton and Lorenza Piper from Gray New Gloucester track and field. Layton set a school record in the shot put with a toss of 47 feet 5 inches at Saturday's Husky Throwdown at MCI. Piper was named the meet's girls throwmeister after winning the shot put and placing 4th in the discus and 10th in the javelin. And finally, Julianne Pike from Kennebunk softball. Pike struck out 17 in a 5-3 win over South Portland and threw a 5-inning no-hitter with 11 strikeouts against Westbrook. Those are your athletes of the week. Congratulations to them all. We have polls. You can check these out at varsitymaine.com. These are voted on by our sports writers from around the state. We'll start this week with girls lacrosse. Number 1, Kennebunk getting all 7 first-place votes and 35 points. Number 2, Massabesic. Number 3, Falmouth. Number 4, York. And number 5, Marshwood. But Kennebunk and Massabesic are playing right now. I think the game should be over by now, guys. But they're playing tonight, so the winner of that will kind of have a good lock on first place in Class A South and probably be the number 1 team in the state next week. In boys lacrosse, number 1, Cape Elizabeth, despite losing and having their 22-game win streak snapped the other night against Yarmouth, they got 4 first-place votes, and they have 30 points. Scarborough got a first-place vote. They are in 2nd. York got 2 first-place votes. They are in 3rd, followed by South Portland and Yarmouth. Moving to baseball, we have number 1, Thornton, who just had a big win over South Portland. They have 3 first-place votes. Number 2, Bangor, 3 first-place votes. Oxford Hills is 3rd, tied with South Portland, who got a first-place vote. And then 5th, Greeley. I saw Greeley yesterday against York. They took a 4-3 win, and it was a game that their coach, Derek Sewell, said they kind of needed because they've been winning so many blowouts that they kind of needed to experience that tight playoff atmosphere game where things might not go right, but you still overcome it and get a win anyway. They had a error that led to York's 3 unearned runs in the 5th to tie the game. They were able to overcome that, so I still think Greeley's probably one of the teams to beat in Class B South. And Drew in Class A North, Bangor just kind of is always in the mix there.
Yeah, you can count on them. You can count on Oxford Hills to be really solid teams. There are some teams that I think, based on the players they had coming back, Skowhegan figured to be a team that would be worth watching there. I know Messalonski was really high on their chances coming into the season, and they've not scuffle would be too strong, but I think they've lost some games that they were probably looking to win. We'll see if that gets better. But no, Bangor right now looks like we've got a half of the season in the books now, and they look like they're the team to beat, which, like you said, is nothing too unusual. They've got a good program up there and a good feeder system. It all just clicks up there.
Yeah, Adam, have you seen this Oxford Hills team? I know they've got athletes who have, they've had success in football and in basketball already this year. So I'm sure winning in baseball is going to be nothing new to them.
Yeah, I've seen Oxford Hills play once this year so far. I hope to see them a couple more times. But you're right. A lot of the football players, a lot of the basketball players that both went to state final games are here. Everyone that follows Maine sports, I think, is pretty familiar with Eli Soren at this point. Sure. Really, really strong pitcher. Plays shortstop when he's not pitching, but it's him, Wyatt Knightley, another really strong pitcher, and I watched Colby Brown pitch a 5-inning shutout. And they've got 3 or 4 guys. I think they have the pitching to go real far this year. They bring in some new guys, and they've got the hitting. Isaiah Ofiero can hit. Matt Doucette can hit. So they're strong all around. I think they had a weird loss to Edward Little, who's had some weird losses to some other teams. But I think they'll be able to play with a whole lot of teams. Obviously, I haven't gotten to see, the Thorntons and the South Portlands of the world yet. But I think out of the North here, I think Oxford Hills has a chance here.
Okay. Finally, we have softball. Number 1, Biddeford this week, new number 1 with 4 first-place votes and 63 points, followed by number 2, Brunswick with a first-place vote. Number 3, Skowhegan, despite picking up their first loss, a 3-2 loss to Bangor. last week. They still get a first place vote. And then number 4, Oxford Hills, they still get a first place vote. And York rounds it out. And number 5, Drew. We got 3 teams from Class A North here. We just kind of touched on it with this Brunswick team. That should be a good playoff battle.
That's going to be a really good race because you have a team. We just talked about Brunswick and everything that they bring to the table with both their top end talent and just the balance. But then you have Skowhegan, which has just a winning core, not just in softball, but in other sports. We were talking about Oxford Hills and how they have athletes from football and everything. Skowhegan has people who just won a basketball championship and are used to field hockey success. And obviously winning the state title last year with almost all those players back, that goes a long way. And Oxford Hills is always the team, but that's kind of in Skowhegan's way to go to these championship games. So yeah, it's going to be probably those 3 teams with no clear answer as to no clear pecking order there. It's kind of a pick 'em at this point. I'm going to be watching that pretty closely and interested to see how that turns out.
Sure. For either of you, any big games that you're looking forward to in the coming week?
Yeah, just on the other side of that Class A region, Biddeford plays Kennebunk on Monday. And you have 6-1 Kennebunk and Biddeford, which we just said is the number 1 team in our polls. So this will be either a game where Kennebunk kind of shows that maybe they should be looked at as a favorite in Class A South, or Biddeford will just provide yet another reason why they're the team to beat in the whole state, not just the region. And so that's going to be, I think that's going to be a game that either that reveals a lot, whether maybe there's some movement or whether it's just kind of entrenching what we already know. But that should be a good game, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that shakes out.
How about in the Lewiston area, Adam?
Yeah, I mean, just Monday. I don't know where I'm going to be on Monday, but I know I'll be somewhere because we have Messalonsky going to Oxford Hills in baseball. That should be a telling game. Lewiston at Edward Little, and that usually is strong. That Lewiston, I have a story coming out. Josh Murphy, their pitcher / infielder, he's going to play at Bryant in 2 years. He's taking a gap year, but on scholarship, D1. So Lewiston's got some guys. Edward Little's got some guys. That's a big KVAC Class A game as well. So and then Edward Little, Lewiston softball on Monday also. And I just watched Levitt beat Lewiston softball last night, and they're starting to hit the ball really, really well, and they're on a good little streak here. So some fun early week games here in our area.
Yeah, it's finally spring, guys. It's 80 something degrees. It's sunny.
Mm-hmm.
Go outside, everybody, and catch some high school sports. It's the time of year to do it. This is our reward for the winter and the early spring games. And I'd like to remind you all to check out varsitymaine.com. That's where you're going to find your best coverage of high school sports in the state. Thanks for joining us this week. It's been fabulous. For Adam, for Drew, for Beth, I'm Travis. Thanks for joining us on Varsity Maine Live.